everyone, back to the More YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. And quite ironic this one actually, with it being International Women's Day. When I'm recording this, I'm talking about the most powerful woman at Newcastle United, Amanda Staveley. Yes, Amanda has been speaking at a conference. I think it's the Power Players Conference. Mark's put a link to it down below there in the description if you want to watch it. And she'll be talking about all things business, all things Newcastle United. And as always, Amanda is always very eloquent, very articulate. And from a business perspective, I do work in the world of business when I'm not doing this kind of a thing. She's very impressive, no doubt about it. The way she talks, the way she carries herself, the way she verbalizes what she's talking about is nothing but impressive. You can't help but to be impressed with what Amanda Staveley does and the way she carries herself. But she did drop a few major talking points with regards to Newcastle United. We're going to unpack them a little bit here, from everything from a bargain buy to FFP to the women's team. But the white elephant in the room, the biggest revelation that she made, is, of course, about the former manager, Eddie Howe's predecessor, the Baron of Bacon himself, Steve Bruce. Well, you know, yes, he's back in the spotlight again. And what did you say about Brucey? Well, to be fair, she didn't have to say a lot. It was one sentence, and sometimes one sentence can say 1,000 words. And Jesus H. Christ, this sentence did. So cast your mind back to when the takeover came through and everybody was talking about the Saudi money more, buying Messi and Neymar and Mbappe and all this other crap that went on. All the mainstream media outlets like TalkSport and Sky and Radio 5 and all these other people, you know, talking about, will Steve Bruce be given the chance to manage this team? You know, likes of Alan Brazil going, I think Brucey deserves a chance to manage that team and all this shit, because good old Brucey is what they call him in the media, mainly because of his Manchester United playing career. He gets all his credence. You look at his managerial career, bar maybe a couple of clubs in the shape of Hull and Birmingham, he's been fucking gash, really, mainly win ratios of next to nothing. So Steve Bruce had turned around and said that he wanted the opportunity to stay on. He was very clear about that back then. You know, and he spoke very highly about Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Ghoussi as well, in terms of the way they handled the situation. I'm sure that Jamie Rubin maybe had some involvement too, but mainly Amanda and Mehrdad was the people that Steve Bruce has spoken about on podcasts and everything else. That anyone who's given this fucking parasite air, he's been more than happy to grab the mic and talk about it. But what Amanda Staveley said in this sentence was very, very interesting. It really sums up everything you probably need to know about Steve Bruce himself. She was talking about the club, and she said when she came into the club, obviously it was there was no commercial revenue, really, very little commercial revenue. Again, that's Mike Ashley. Great businessman, is he, Rio Ferdinand? Okay, maybe not when he's dealing with Newcastle United, unfortunately, because that was in the toilet, hence why FFP strangled us. More on that in a minute. And then she talked about an ageing squad which was assembled by Mike Ashley, yet again on long-term contracts for bang average players that he couldn't get rid of, and Steve Bruce perpetuated that by signing another fucking knackers like Sir Jeff Hendrick and people like that as well. And then the biggest one, the cherry on top of the cake, she said we had a coach who basically didn't want to come in to work. So that completely counter argues anything that Steve Bruce was trying to say back then about him wanting to hang on to the project and really wanting to get involved with it and all this stuff. All of the noise that you see in terms of Steve Bruce trying to tell everybody he's this, you know, ambitious manager who's still got plenty in the tank. Utter fucking manure. That's not what he wanted to do at all. He basically didn't want to come in because he knew he'd fucked it. He knew he'd ran out of ideas. He knew he had no plan B, C, D, E, all the way to fucking Z. He didn't have a plan, this prick. He knew he was fucked. He knew he was sinking. He just basically thought, we're going down. I've got no plans. I'm fucked. Let's hope these guys pay me off a nice big wedge of money, which is exactly what happened. And somebody else comes in, and good luck to them because they probably won't do it anyway. But you know what happened? The rest is history, Brucey. The fucking guy who got Bournemouth relegated, as you called him, came in, did the unthinkable and saved us, and then the next season got us in the fucking Champions League. So that's how wank you were, Steve Bruce, as a manager. So all these mainstream media outlets who, Bruce apologists, who said that we were unfair to Steve Bruce, this motherfucker, you know, categorised us you know, as histrionics and hysteria is what he called us in press conferences. But look at that. This lazy bastard didn't even want to come into fucking work to try and fix the mess that he created. So how about that TalkSport? How about that Sky Sports? Why don't you come out and apologise to every single Newcastle United fan who's vindicated right now for that lazy bastard being outed for exactly what he is, a heartless, lazy, fucking ambitionless twat is what he is. But you won't come and apologise to us because he's your best mate. And I remember Freddie Flintoff when he was on TalkSport. He bought me a pint once in Dubai when my card didn't work. Utter fucking bollocks. This whole Steve Bruce facade needs to be eroded away. And well done, Amanda Staveley, for throwing some petrol on that fire. Long may it burn. And long may this twat never get back into the football game. So that's me done on that. I'm taking a breath and I'll talk about the other points now. So hope you enjoyed that one. Like and subscribe if you did. So the rest of the points she spoke about, again, so eloquently. She talked about, obviously, the women's team and the success there. Again, when it's been International Women's Day, she's got to take the plaudits for that, Amanda. She came in, she wanted to progress the women's team. They've had rip-roaring success in terms of multiple promotions, and now they're professionals, 20-odd thousand at St James's Park. It's been an unbelievable story of progress there, and she's got to take plaudits for that because she's done a sensational job with the women's team, and obviously as a woman as well in the business world, she probably knows exactly the challenges that women face, and she's excelled and succeeded. Now the women's team is as well, and credit to them all. Well done to that. She did talk about loads of other stuff as well. Saudi Arabian teams in the Champions League. Obviously, she answered that quite probably appropriately, incorrectly, given who her employers probably are, or the majority investors in Newcastle. And she said she thought it was going to happen. Now, I'm not sure about that. Neither's Mark, mind you, but that's a topic for another day. She then did talk about the Premier League and FFP, and the host was obviously very good in terms of asking questions around business and investment potential and returns and everything else. It was very, very good the way Amanda Staveley answered this. So she didn't outright say FFP was shit, but what she did say that FFP does restrict the growth of the Premier League. The presenter very, poignantly and statistically said that the Premier League turns over the same amount of money as the NHL, the hockey league in America, which obviously isn't the main sport. NFL is the big sport, and then obviously the NBA in America. And he said he found that quite amazing because the potential of the Premier League, it should be turning over way more than that. And Amanda very, again, articulately and poignantly said that this is an entertainment business. You got to be able to buy the players that can bring entertainment, put bums on seats, all that kind of stuff, and the financial restrictions do prevent you from doing that. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, this whole Premier League thing, these new rules have come out recently as well to stop sponsorship internally and everything else. All they're doing is restricting the other 14 teams in the Premier League while looking after 6. That's all they're doing. They have these meeting with the other 14 teams, and then their little special meeting with the greedy 6 who did want to fuck off during the Super League, Premier League, if you need reminding of that every single time, because you clearly seem to have forgotten about it. But there's a great article as well out there from Simon Bird about the capitalism and elitism in the Premier League when it comes to the greedy 6, and they're stopping teams like Newcastle United and Aston Villa, who are cash rich right now and have owners with great connections in terms of wealth and everything else, from growing and having a good go at the Premier League. And who wouldn't want to see a Premier League title that's challenged between 6 teams or 7 teams, and nobody wants to see it won by Christmas all the time. It's boring. Go back and look at how many people have won the Premier League, and it's boring. They take pot shots at the SPFL for Rangers and Celtic, and La Liga for Real Madrid and Barca. We're just as bad. It's the same 3 or 4 teams that's winning the Premier League every single year, and it needs to change. Leicester bucked the trend. They hated that, the Premier League, and then they rallied around the elite teams to try and get them back to the top of the table. And this whole thing needs to stop. And fair play for Amanda there as well for shouting that out in a low-key way in terms of saying FFP does restrict the growth of the Premier League. She also talked about multi-club models as well, which is no surprise. Again, the Premier League tried to stop that, I think, as well, which failed miserably because a lot of teams are looking at that element as well in terms of scouting players within and sending their youth players over to different countries to learn and to play in different leagues and everything else as well. And that's something that I think the PIF and Amanda as well, I'm sure we'll be looking at pursuing. They said they looked at teams in Belgium and Europe and Australia and things like that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle follow Manchester City's route and maybe purchase some of the teams like City have got New York and Melbourne, and I think there's one in Spain as well. The name escapes me right now. I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if Newcastle go down that route as well. But this was an incredibly articulate, open interview by Amanda, and it's always good to hear from her because she just reassures you of how much of a plan they've got, in terms of succeeding for this football club from a business perspective as well as on the pitch. You compare it to old Hooky Street Del Boy himself in terms of Mike Ashley, and it's poles apart. It really is poles apart. They do have a plan, these owners. The only issue is is that these roadblocks from the Premier League are standing in their way. They're not able to do what the likes of Saudi have done in the golf and in the Formula One and the money they've spent in boxing and everything else. None of that is going to be able to be achieved whilst these strict restrictions are in place. But I do think they're relaxing a little bit. I think the rest of the Premier League's putting pressure on them because these teams can't grow. There's no reason why Palace can't go and sign a £30 million striker or, who's going to get them 25 goals a season and push them 5 or 6 places up the league. But there is, because they're stopping the FFP. They're stopping likes of Palace and Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, all these other teams from trying to grow and trying to be the next level up. And with that success comes commercial revenue. But the Premier League are halting that. But the pressure is on them to relax these laws. We've seen what's happened to Everton and Forest and that. And I think that the more the pressure grows, the more these laws and rules will be relaxed. You can still have sustainability without limiting trade, which is what they're doing right now. So it'll be an interesting couple of years, I think, for the Premier League and the FFP restrictions. It's already changing the PSR, so there might be a little bit of leeway there where the owners can, put their money where their mouth is, and that financial net is there to protect the clubs from going under and doing the Portsmouth. But really interesting to hear from Amanda. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, what you think about what you said. Was it exciting? Was it good? Was it interesting to hear? Did you have any concerns or worries? And what do you think about the truth about Bruce being a lazy bastard, bang average Mike Bassett wannabe manager? We always like to hear from you. Smash like, subscribe, guys. We always like to hear from you. All free content, evermore, but there is a membership option there if you want to click that as well and join us. We'll be back with some more content this week. We've got Chelsea coming on Monday. Mark will be on post-match duties as I am away doing the day job, but make sure you tune in. Keep it evermore, guys. Have a belter. We'll see you later. Cheers.